Picture this. It's early 2026, and the leader of the most powerful country in the world strolls into an interview and basically says, "International law? Nah. My own morality is the only thing that can stop me." That's not satire. That's not a meme caption. That's what the President of the United States actually said, out loud, in print, to a major newspaper. Now, before we go any further, yes, this is real. No, you're not stuck in a fever dream. And yes, this absolutely counts as news. So here's the question that keeps diplomats up at night. What would the world look like if the US really stopped caring about international law and started acting like it doesn't exist? Let's unpack that without the legal jargon, because apparently, definitions are optional now. First off, let us define international law in normal person terms. It is basically a shared agreement among countries, treaties, conventions, norms that says, hey, maybe don't invade your neighbors, maybe don't steal their leaders, maybe don't bomb everything, and maybe don't act like you live in the Wild West. That's it. No celestial commandments, just a global peace club with rules. Historically, at least. Now, apparently optional. So imagine waking up one morning and reading headlines like this. President says he doesn't need international law. Only his own morality is the limit. That's basically the story that just dropped. And if that doesn't sound unsettling, you might want to check your pulse. Here's the thing. Every global leader says they want peace and cooperation. Heck, there are entire UN treaties dedicated to preventing war, protecting human rights, regulating trade, and even keeping landmines from maiming kids. But here's the new hot take. Apparently, we don't need any of that anymore. Just a guy in charge saying, "I'm not trying to hurt people," which, on paper, is exactly how every serial killer in every horror movie starts the conversation. But let us pretend for a second that this is not a horror movie and actually imagine how this would play out in real life. Day 1. The US announces it's not bound by international law anymore. Not really. Just sort of. Kind of. It depends on your definition of international law. Yes, that was actually the sentence. Day 2. Allies are confused. NATO is like, wait, what? Because part of being in NATO is respecting treaties and mutual defense. But now one of the chief architects of NATO is basically saying treaties are suggestions written by lawyers who wear funny shoes. This would make awkward Zoom calls Great Britain-wide. Day 3. A neighboring superpower thinks, oh cool, they don't care about international law, so we don't either. Cue the diplomatic domino effect. Everyone starts acting like treaties are optional and morality is subjective. Week 2. The US launches a military operation in Venezuela without a UN mandate, claiming some murky national security reason. And yes, they snatched the Venezuelan president right out of the capital without permission from anyone else because, well, morality. Sound familiar? It's literally happening right now. Meanwhile, France, one of America's oldest allies, is publicly fuming and calling this breakdown of global rules a dangerous deviation. That is real diplomatic language for what the hell did you just do? Now, this turn of events would do more than make law professors loudly slam their books. It would fundamentally reshape every relationship in the modern world. For starters, imagine trade agreements. These used to be enforced by international tribunals. Now, the US could say, LOL nope, and rewrite every single contract to favor them, or just stop obeying rulings it doesn't like. Global businesses would probably react about as well as you react when someone steals your lunch and blames it on your goldfish. What about climate agreements? You know, the ones trying to stop the planet from becoming a giant baked potato? The US just dropped out of dozens of international organizations because, in their words, they conflict with national interests. So now instead of cooperative climate action, you've got a giant game of finger-pointing and nobody's fixing anything. Human rights treaties? Peacekeeping missions? International courts? The US doesn't just stop participating, it actively shrugs at them. Suddenly, the abstract concept of rules is replaced by the even more abstract concept of my own morality, which is a sentence most people don't want running global foreign policy. And if you think other world powers are just going to sit quietly while this happens, no? Russia rejects US peace plans and accuses America of warlike behavior. China is watching all this with a giant playbook already written. If America wants to redefine how the world works, other countries will respond, sometimes by doing the exact same thing. This isn't a hypothetical future. It's already starting. So let's fast forward to the world that could emerge. One where treaties are memories, where alliances are optional, and where global cooperation looks like a group chat no one checks anymore. Suddenly, every conflict becomes bilateral. You, me, guns, resources, might equals right. The whole post-World War II system, the one designed to prevent world wars, economic collapse, and preventable human suffering, becomes the political equivalent of that dusty treadmill in your garage you said you'd use, but never did. And here's the kicker. None of this actually makes the world safer. It just makes it more predictably chaotic. Because when there are no rules, there's nothing stopping anyone from doing whatever they want. And that is how the world gets loud, expensive, and full of bullets. So let's answer the big what if. What if the US truly stopped respecting international law? You'd get a world where power is the only currency that matters, where treaties are optional side quests, where morality is whatever one dude feels like that Tuesday morning, and where everyone else, friends and rivals alike, either jumps on the same bandwagon or exploits the chaos. And that, my friends, would be a world that looks nothing like the one we have known for the last 80 years. Peace deals could crumble, alliances could unravel, new blocks could form, old ones could fall apart. And international crises that used to require negotiation might now require muskets. So here's the real thought to leave your audience with. If international law disappears, what stops other countries from doing the exact same thing? And if morality becomes the only rule, whose morality wins? Drop a comment and tell me, would a world without international law be more stable or just more terrifying? Like, subscribe, and stay sharp.